Tonight, the breaking news as we come on the air, bracing for a treacherous ice storm, multiple states, 100 million Americans in the path. The warnings right now from the Midwest right into the Northeast. New York City to Boston, Washington, D.C. up to Philadelphia. All could face a dangerous morning commute tomorrow. Ginger Z standing by with the forecast. She'll time this out. Also tonight, what President Trump and the White House are now saying after the president declared the U.S. would take over the Gaza Strip and that Palestinians should leave. Will there be U.S. boots on the ground? How much would this cost? And would Palestinians be allowed to return? What they're saying now. Tonight, the chaotic moment on Capitol Hill when Democrats called for Elon Musk to testify to explain to the American people what he's doing after being given access to the personal information of millions of federal workers. Tonight, the CIA, the newest agency affected, as millions of federal workers now have 24 hours to respond. Will they take the buyout? And late today at the White House, President Trump signing an executive order banning transgender women from competing in women's sports. Tonight, the passenger accused of cracking a window in midair on a flight to Houston, allegedly punching and kicking it until it cracked. Images here tonight, and in Seattle, the collision on the tarmac. Tonight, dramatic video showing sweeping ice raids in the Denver area. Federal agents swarming apartment buildings, several people taken into custody tonight. Egg prices here in the U.S., the steep prices at the grocery store, the restaurants raising prices too. Waffle House and that 50-cent surcharge per egg. And tonight, news coming in, 100,000 eggs have been stolen, worth 40 grand. In the Northeast, dozens of skiers rescued from a ski lift. They had to use ropes to get them down. In Florida tonight, look at the images, the out-of-control boat spinning in circles, the driver of the boat unconscious. How they saved him. And the countdown to the Super Bowl tonight, the Eagles, the Chiefs, and the 102-year-old fan who just might be the good luck charm.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening. It's great to have you with us here on a very busy Wednesday night. We have a lot of news to get to, but we're going to begin tonight with this dangerous evening ahead, what could be a treacherous ice storm across multiple states, the Midwest right into the Northeast tonight and tomorrow morning. More than 100 million Americans are on alert right now. Icy conditions down power lines, highways and roads covered potentially with black ice. The system moving across the Midwest right to the Northeast, treacherous conditions for the morning commute right along the I-95 corridor right in the east, New York City up to Boston, Washington, D.C. to Philadelphia. Part of what's fueling all of this, the energy from those western storms moving east, helping to fuel this fast-moving ice storm now. Again, tomorrow morning could be a dangerous commute for millions in several major cities in the east. So let's get right to Chief Meteorologist Ginger Z with the forecast. And Ginger, not only a tough night ahead, but potentially a dangerous morning ahead.
Yeah, it really is the worst timing, David, for New York or for New Jersey, and I'll explain the timing in a bit. But first, let's look at all of those winter weather advisories from Kansas City to Kalamazoo, Michigan, Baltimore, Maryland, and even Portland, Maine. So a lot of states, a whole swath there, going to be impacted by this storm. It's already starting to ice up a bit, and we've seen it in parts of the Midwest, but now it's going to be filling in because it has been anemic, not as much moisture. Look what happens from, say, Toledo over to Cleveland by midnight. And then it picks up in those higher elevations of the Blue Ridge or Allegheny Mountains. That's where the ice storm warning is in place through tomorrow morning. New York, a burst of snow to start, then a wintry mix, and then a transition to rain. So it's not going to look like a lot by the time it's said and done, but the mess on the roads will already be complete. Boston staying on the frozen side of it. Here's what it leaves behind. I think anybody down to Lewisburg, West Virginia, and the ice storm warning has a chance at tree damage and power outages too, David.
All right, be careful, everyone. Millions in the path of this, and we'll be watching you first thing in the morning on GMA, Ginger. Thank you. Now to the White House and what they're saying tonight after President Trump last night suggested the U.S. would take over Gaza and that some 2 million Palestinians should leave. He said we should find them a nice piece of land and build them some really nice places. Well, questions tonight, will there be American boots on the ground as part of this plan? How much would it cost? And will the Palestinians ever be allowed to return? Tonight, the White House appears to be dialing much of this back. The president said today, everyone loves it. Here's our chief White House correspondent, Mary Bruce.
Tonight, 24 hours after President Trump declared the U.S. will take over Gaza and that the Palestinian people would be permanently moved to other countries to a, quote, beautiful area with nice homes, the White House today struggling to explain how the plan would work.
Can we ask about your Gaza proposal? A lot of people are talking about, obviously. Everybody loves it.
But today, international outrage after the president announced the United States would seize control of war-torn Gaza.
The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it, too. We'll own it and be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs and other weapons on the site, level the site, and get rid of the destroyed buildings.
The former real estate developer describing the potential opportunities.
I don't want to be cute. I don't want to be a wise guy, but the Riviera of the Middle East.
Trump says the nearly 2 million Palestinians should permanently relocate to Egypt and Jordan, though both countries reject that notion. And today, Palestinian residents like Tala Herzala anguished at the thought of being forced from her home.
You wake up on a slap on your face after knowing the solution of the President of the United States to us. Just leave your homeland, leave your country for us, to rebuild it in a way that we see is good for us, not for you.
The condemnation in the region swift, including from Saudi Arabia. The Trump administration is hoping the Saudis will normalize ties with Israel. Today, the Saudis saying that won't happen without a Palestinian state, that their position is firm and unwavering. Now, Trump administration officials seeming to dial back some of the president's language. Secretary of State Marco Rubio acknowledging the plan is real, but implying Palestinians would be able to return.
So what he's very generously has offered is the ability of the United States to go in and help with debris removal, help with munitions removal, help with reconstruction, the rebuilding homes and businesses and things of this nature, so that then people can move back in.
We've seen the pictures, hundreds of thousands of Palestinians determined to get back to their homes in Gaza. But today, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt insisting.
This is an uninhabitable place for human beings. Do you really think that families can live their dream in a region that looks like this, with no running water, no electricity?
But 24 hours after Trump said America would take over the Gaza Strip and own it, today Leavitt adamant the U.S. would not pay to rebuild Gaza. I pressed her on whether Trump would send American troops.
The president last night said he's willing to use the military if necessary. Is the U.S. prepared to remove Palestinians from Gaza by force?
The president is prepared to rebuild Gaza for Palestinians and all people in the region, peace-loving people who want real economic development and opportunity in the region.
But should the American people be prepared to see U.S. military on the ground fighting a ground war against Hamas?
Again, the president has not committed to U.S. troops in the region.
The president said his intention was to remove Palestinians from Gaza permanently.
If we can get a beautiful area to resettle people permanently.
But today, the press secretary said it would be temporary.
The president has made it clear that they need to be temporarily relocated out of Gaza for the rebuilding of this effort.
And David, the White House today was also pressed on the president's decades of criticism of U.S. entanglements in conflicts abroad, going back to George W. Bush's involvement in Iraq. But the White House said this plan would not entangle the U.S. in the Middle East, despite the president saying the U.S. would, quote, own Gaza and be responsible for dismantling all of the unexploded bombs and weapons there. David.
Mary Bruce at the White House again tonight. Thank you, Mary. Tonight, the chaotic moment on Capitol Hill when Democrats called for Elon Musk to testify, to explain to the American people what he's doing after being given access to the personal information of millions of federal workers. Tonight, the CIA, the newest agency affected, and millions of federal workers now have 24 hours to respond. Will they take the buyout? And late today at the White House, President Trump signing an executive order banning transgender women from competing in women's sports. How many players does this affect? And what the NCAA is now saying about this just moments ago. Here's our senior political correspondent, Rachel Scott, tonight.
Tonight on Capitol Hill, Democrats calling on Elon Musk to testify before Congress, demanding to know what he's really up to, now with access to millions of federal workers' personal information.
I move that the committee subpoena Elon Musk to come before it as a witness at the earliest possible moment.
The hearing quickly descending into chaos.
I think it's outrageous that this committee will not even entertain a motion.
No, you state your Chairman, that's not a point of order.
Somebody who is breaking the law and dismantling our federal agencies.
You're out of order. No, we don't listen to Democrats.
Data, and you will not even entertain a motion to break the president.
This is are in favor of tabling.
Yes, let's have order in this country.
Stansbury, you're out of order. You know you're out of order. You know the rules of this committee. There's been a motion.
Mr. Elon Musk is out of order and dismantling.
He's out of order.
The next target for Musk, the CIA, the agents responsible for keeping America's secrets and keeping America safe. Originally exempt from the buyout offers extended to the federal workforce, some 2 million federal workers have just 24 hours left to respond to their buyout offers, at least 40,000 already accepting. Intelligence workers now facing that same deadline to decide whether to resign now or risk getting laid off in the future. A U.S. official tells ABC News the CIA emailed over a non-classified system, a list of new employees to the White House to comply with its review of the federal workforce. The list including the first names and last initial of employees hired in the past 2 years. Those employees still on probation or in training are easier to fire. And there is fear tonight. Now the identities of those intelligence officers could be at risk. And tonight at the Justice Department, the acting Deputy Attorney General sending a letter calling for calm amid fears of mass firings after requesting the FBI turn over a list of thousands of FBI agents and investigators who worked on January 6 cases involving the people who attacked the Capitol and police. Writing, "Let me be clear, no FBI employee who simply followed orders and carried out their duties in an ethical manner with respect to January 6 investigations is at risk of termination or other penalties." Warning, only agents who acted with corrupt or partisan intent in those investigations should be concerned. And at the White House today, President Trump before the cameras and a cheering crowd in the East Room, signing an executive order banning transgender women and girls from competing in women's sports.
With this executive order, the war on women's sports is over.
Trump made this a key issue on the campaign trail, running campaign ads in battleground states. Trans athletes are already barred from participating in sports at K-12 schools or colleges in more than 24 states. The head of the NCAA said of the approximately 510,000 college athletes in this country, fewer than 10 are known to be transgender. And tonight, advocacy groups fear this move will only lead to more discrimination and harassment. Surrounded by female coaches and athletes, the president telling schools they will risk losing federal funding if they do not comply.
With my action this afternoon, we're putting every school receiving taxpayer dollars on notice that if you let men take over women's sports teams or invade your locker rooms, you will be investigated for violations of Title IX and risk your federal funding.
And just moments ago, the NCAA released a statement calling President Trump's executive order a clear national standard, saying they will be taking the necessary steps to better align their policies with this new executive order, David.
Rachel Scott just outside the White House as well tonight. Rachel, thank you. Tonight, one of the president's executive orders is on hold. A federal judge indefinitely blocking his attempt to end birthright citizenship. The judge ruling that the president's executive order barring citizenship to children born to undocumented or temporary immigrants, quote, conflicts with the plain language of the 14th Amendment. The president's order on hold now nationwide as it potentially works through the courts. Now to the alarming moments on a flight from Denver to Houston. A passenger accused of cracking a window in midair, allegedly punching and kicking it until it cracked. Passengers were horrified, helping to hold him down. And in Seattle tonight, 2 planes colliding on the tarmac. Here's Trevor Ault.
Tonight, stunning scenes on a Frontier Airlines flight. Passengers restraining a man who witnesses say started throwing punches. The plane traveling from Denver to Houston overnight when that passenger allegedly became combative, striking the window and seat.
He was screaming in multiple languages and punching out the window and like laying back and trying to kick it out.
Passengers struggling to hold him down, fighting to tie his hands and buckling him into a seat.
It took a couple guys to get his arms behind him and secured.
The plane window seen cracked with blood stains. A police officer meeting the plane at the gate upon landing, though Houston PD says Frontier Airlines declined to press charges. And in Seattle today, another jarring incident. 2 planes colliding on the tarmac. The wing of a taxiing Japan Airlines flight striking the tail of a Delta Airlines plane waiting for de-icing.
The plane just kind of jolted. It felt like we were in a car accident. The Delta tail was like lodged into the wing.
The FAA saying the aircraft were in an area that is not under air traffic control. Passengers deplaning from both aircraft. No one was injured.
David, the FAA has now opened an investigation into how those planes collided in Seattle. Meantime, Frontier Airlines had no comment on that restrained passenger.
David. Trevor Ault with us tonight. Trevor, thank you. Tonight, dramatic video showing sweeping immigration raids in the Denver area. Federal agents swarming apartment buildings before sunrise this morning. Heavily armed officers seen knocking on doors, stopping cars, and taking several people into custody. Authorities saying they were targeting more than 100 members of a violent Venezuelan gang in nearby Aurora. Residents were asked about documentation and ID. Tonight, ICE now reporting more than 8,700 people have been arrested nationwide since the raids began last week. We turn now to the prices you're paying at the grocery store, particularly when it comes to eggs. Restaurants, too, hiking prices. We reported on Waffle House, for one, charging a 50-cent surcharge per egg. Well, tonight, the news, 100,000 eggs have been stolen, worth $40,000. Of course, all of this driven by the spread of bird flu here in the U.S. Here's Elizabeth Schulze.
Tonight, egg prices breaking records and set to soar even higher as restaurants and grocery stores are forced to pay more to get eggs because of bird flu growing across the U.S. Customers in grocery stores across the country shocked at what they've seen.
When did eggs become $9.99, $10.29, $14.99 for eggs?
It also comes as the famous breakfast chain Waffle House announced they'll charge an extra 50 cents per egg until egg prices ease. And they're not the only ones raising prices.
The price is outrageous.
And tonight, a remarkable scene. In Pennsylvania, police say 100,000 eggs were stolen from a trailer at Pete and Jerry's Organics. $40,000 worth of eggs. In the race to contain bird flu, egg producers have been forced to destroy 23 million birds in the last month. The owner of Alexis Diner in Troy, New York, says he's paying an extra $1,500 every week for eggs.
It's ruining my bottom line. There is no bottom line. The bottom fell out of my bottom line right now.
And many businesses are passing those higher costs on to customers.
David, these bird flu outbreaks are really hitting across the country from California to Illinois to New York. David.
Elizabeth, thank you. When we come back tonight, the deadly workplace shooting, the 12-hour manhunt for the worker and how this has ended. And the images tonight, take a look, the out-of-control boat spinning in circles, the driver unconscious, and how they got to him. Tonight, a suspect wanted for a deadly workplace shooting under arrest now after a 12-hour manhunt outside Columbus, Ohio. Police say an employee at a cosmetics warehouse opened fire. One person killed, several wounded. The suspect arrested at an apartment building. Tonight, dozens of skiers have been rescued. Authorities in Franconia, New Hampshire, using ropes to lower 64 people to safety on Cannon Mountain. A mechanical problem causing that breakdown. When we come back tonight, that boat spinning, the driver unconscious, how they save him. And tonight, you've got to see the lucky charm for each team, the Chiefs and the Eagles. To the index of dramatic boat rescue, take a look, a small boat spinning in circles. This is Volusia County, Florida. One person on board unconscious. A first responder jumping onto the boat and able to stop it. The boater expected to make a full recovery tonight. When we come back here, she's 102. Does she hold the key to the Super Bowl? Players on one team think so tonight. Fighting tonight, the Super Bowl and their good luck charms. Tonight, the countdown's on. Super Bowl 59 this Sunday in New Orleans. The Eagles versus the Chiefs. Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes on the field today. And the super fans in both cities cheering them on tonight.
Hi, David.
At Mr. D's Donuts outside Kansas City, owners husband and wife team Johnny Chen and Boggy Uckenbayer with their 2-year-old twins Gemma and Maddie. And their trademark donuts they're making ahead of the big game. Number 87, Travis Kelce. Number 15, Patrick Mahomes. Putting the finishing touches on their special Mahomes donut with the headband. The Chiefs stopping by themselves for the donuts, even the mascot. And with every sale, they're giving back.
Community has really shown up for us. We really believe in investing that right back into our community.
Portion of the sales going to local charities, and they certainly hope these good deeds will give their team a good chance.
We are very excited about the Super Bowl this Sunday. Go Chiefs!
And in Philadelphia tonight, the Eagles have their own good luck charm. It just might be 102-year-old E. Lois Brown. The great-great-grandmother has never missed a game. She's watched every single one of them. In fact, she was 11 years old when the Eagles became a team. Set to witness the Eagles' 5th Super Bowl appearance this Sunday, becoming their mascot. The Eagles giving her a custom jersey with her last name on the back, and she's 102. Players know she's their lucky charm, saying hi before walking out. Tonight, she told us her Eagles are going to win.
We're going to win. I told you.
And what's her secret to a long and happy life at 102? Tonight, she tells us family, faith, and of course, football. And I love it. She remembers when the Eagles became a team. She was just 11. I'll see you right back here tomorrow.
Thank you for making World News Tonight with David Muir, America's most watched newscast.